Hi, I'm Kyle Smith, up-and-coming 70.3 athlete, currently undefeated over the distance, over the 5 that I've done, part-time bricklayer, and you're listening to The Physical Performance Show.
And the winner is...
Failure is not an option.
I've had my ups and my downs.
I think it's an absolutely breakthrough experience.
Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, the show designed to inspire the pursuit of your physical best performance. I'm your host, Brad Beer. Listen in as we delve into how the world's top physical performers achieve their success, as well as the highs, the lows, and the journey of getting there. Let's get ready, set, let's go. Welcome to the Physical Performance Show, brought to you by Precision Hydration. It's time to stop guessing about your hydration needs for racing and training and find out by taking Precision Hydration's free online sweat test. And of course, the show is brought to you by the Physical Performance Show's Learnings membership and also Pogo Physio's online telehealth consultations. I'm Brad Beer, sports physiotherapist and exercise scientist by trade and training, and founder of Pogo Physio. Each week, we'll bring you the latest and greatest information and inspiration designed to help you perform at your physical best. And of course, we do this across our range of different episodes: interest editions, coaches' corners, featured performers, and expert editions. And off the back of last week's very popular episode featuring Great Britain's triathlon star Jess Learmonth, we have kept the featured performer theme going. And this week we jump across the ditch to join Kyle Smith, dual world off-road cross triathlon champion, undefeated across the 70.3 Half Ironman distance, for an exploration of his career highs, lows, and learnings. And at the time of episode release, Kyle will be just several days away from his Ironman distance triathlon debut in the 2021 edition of the Ironman New Zealand title. And Kyle's been in recent great form with victories successively in Challenge Wanaka 70.3, Tauranga Half, and the Xterra Wellington Triathlon. In both the Challenge Wanaka and Tauranga Half, Kyle overcame former featured guest of the show, New Zealand-based Long Course Triathlon star Braden Currie, to take out those titles. And during today's conversation, you'll hear Kyle share around his transition from short course racing over to long course racing. Kyle shares on his best recovery tips, mistakes he has made in both racing and training when it comes to nutrition, overcoming rigidity with fueling rules and nutrition selection, how to avoid the trap that Kyle terms overtraining and undereating. And of course, Kyle survives a physical performance round and lays down a physical challenge for the week. So get set for a fun conversation with this week's featured performer, Kyle Smith, dual world cross triathlon champion, undefeated across the 70.3 Half Ironman distance, on this featured performer episode. Kyle Smith, I've hit the record button finally. Welcome to the Physical Performance Show.
Thanks, Brad. It's an absolute honour to be on the show. I've been listening for a few years, and I've been kind of dreaming of the day that I'm good enough to get a call up from you.
Well, the day's come, Kyle, and certainly the world of triathlon has taken notice of your recent form in the across the 70.3 distance, and some of your successes there in New Zealand, smashing the Tauranga Half course record, and then obviously taking the victory in the Challenge Wanaka 70.3 as well. Both times having a tight tussle with former guest of the show, Braden Currie. So that must have done wonders for your confidence.
Yeah. I wasn't really expecting it, to be honest, when I kind of got into this long course game. My first one was just over 12 months ago, Taupo 70.3. It's a hometown race for me. Kind of was going through a bit of a, not a rough patch, but kind of just needed something to focus my energy into and kind of focus my mental motivation towards. And kind of 4 weeks before the race into Taupo 70.3. And it kind of was pretty unfit, just got into it, and then wasn't expecting anything from the race, just to go in there and give it my all like I always do, and go pretty deep. And I managed to kind of hang on for the win there in my on debut, and kind of pricked a few ears up. And then my coach, kind of having a beer after the race, said, you want to do another? And I said, yeah, why not? And then, so 4 weeks later, we did Tauranga Half, which was in, my second half in 2020. Managed to break the course record there. And I was people started going, oh, he's actually quite good. And so, kind of just carried on with it really. And had a bit of a hiatus due to COVID and kind of went back to working. I was kind of bricklaying and building and stuff with my dad just to try and make ends meet. And then, and then kind of entered 4 weeks before Rotorua Half. The PTO supported a race for us and, it gave us an opportunity to race. So I thought, you know what, put down the tools and pick up the tri-suit and start training hard again. And, so I started training for Rotorua. I had about 4 weeks to get ready and then, had a really good race there and, came out on top. I think I was about four or 5 minutes up on Braden, which I was like, oh, man, that's cool. And just kind of kept that momentum going really through Tauranga and then through Wanaka and then here we are kind of a week before Ironman New Zealand for my debut Ironman.
The word momentum is certainly something that, is fitting for your current streak, your current form. I had to smile for the Rotorua race. You captioned on Instagram, the only way I know how, full send and hold on. This is the beginning. And watching you or observing you race, that pretty much summarizes your strategy, correct?
It's kind of always how I've always raced. I guess coming from like ITU and Xterra where you just go guns blazing and then, you cross the line and you've put it all out there. And I guess, my first one in Taupo, Hayden Wild was racing and I thought, geez, I need to get as far away from Hayden Wild as I can. So I just sent it and kind of tried to maximise the gap I had to him. I knew that he'd run me down. So, and then, managed to come away with the win and thought, that worked. Let's try that again. And it's just been kind of something that's sort of working in this kind of Oceania racing, I guess. So just, head down, send it, hold on for dear life and just pray to whoever you got to pray to not blow up by the finish.
Your race recaps, Kyle, are quite, race reports are quite amusing. Anyone that's read them will understand. But if you haven't, jump over and check out Kyle's race recaps. The one for... I think it was Challenge Wanaka. You refer to Braden Currie as either a Saharan lion or a mountain lion hunting you down. So is that the imagery you've got going through your head, is it, where you're out in front trying to consolidate or hold on to the lead? Yeah,
well, those race reports are quite funny because when I'm kind of out there, I send it from the front and I'm riding and swimming and riding and running by myself. So just weird stuff goes through my head, really. Like, I'm just in a world of my own and some of that stuff comes. I'm like, oh, geez, I feel like I'm being hunted by a lion. I'm like, yeah, actually, I kind of am. Like, I'm in Wanaka. I'm in his hometown. I'm literally on his home course, and he's licking his lips. And if you've ever seen Braden racing, he has the ferocity of one too. Like you see his eyes. He's frothing from the mouth, and he just wants to beat me and like nothing else. And I want to beat him with nothing else. It's almost like I'm trying to live and he's trying to hunt his prey. And that's kind of the most fitting metaphor that I could find, was just like a lion out there in the Sahara hunting a wildebeest, really.
And the photos do that imagery justice too, Kyle. So that's terrific. The journey into triathlon, how did that start for you? Going back, recapping away from these current successes, you've spent years in the junior scene before jumping over to the long course. But how did you get started? Who was the inspiration? What was the inspiration?
Well, firstly, my parents. My dad was always into motocross. My mum she's a farm girl, so always into kind of horse riding. And then my two older brothers, so from the time I was born, my oldest brother did motocross and my other brother, Ryan, did horse riding. And I was the third child that kind of got juggled between the two. So sport was just something like there was never, for growing up, it was just, there was never ever a question. It was kind of like my oldest brother did motocross. If he wants me there, I'll be there. And if he doesn't, I'll be horse riding. And it was just something that we did all the time. And then through horse riding, I got into modern pentathlon with my brother, and he was pretty good at modern pentathlon. He actually held the world record for the run and shoot there for a while, and kind of just was under his shadow and under his wing for a while. And then we actually moved to New Zealand in 2010. We kind of moved over here fresh off the boat with, basically our suitcases, and we moved to Taupo, and Mum said, hey, the Olympic medalist, the current Olympic bronze medalist is from Taupo, Bevan Doherty, and, there's a pretty good tri club here, Trisport Taupo. Why don't you just, go along and see what it's all about? And it was a way for me to make friends and just a bit of social and something to do after school. So, I went along and they're like, oh, you're not bad at this. Do you want to do one of the local club races? And I was like, yeah, no worries. So, jumped on my little alloy bike and did one of the club duathlons and ended up winning. And, as a 12-year-old, I beat kind of all the adults and everything. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I like winning. So, yeah, I just kind of took to it from there, really. And, yeah, kind of what started as just me being a little bit social and something to do after school turned into something that I became passionate about, and something as I kept on progressing almost became like an addiction. And then, yeah, kind of to put into perspective, I left school and then a couple of days after leaving school, after my last exams, I moved to Cambridge to be part of the high performance team here and a kind of an Olympic build-up, fresh out of school. And that's just kind of how dedicated that I was and out of that. But yeah, and then kind of had some mixed results in the junior kind of ranks, went to a world champs and got a couple of world titles in there, and in cross triathlon and aquathon, and then kind of found my niche, I guess, now in long course.
And what do you think makes you so well suited and performing so well to date across the long course? And for listeners, the 70.3 half Ironman distance and hopefully in 10 days, the Ironman distance going well. What do you think are the attributes you've got that make you so well suited to that distance?
We've always had an inkling, and I'm not sure what it is. It's almost like I'm a bit of a draft horse, through doing kind of testing days and through training sessions, there was kind of a common theme that kept popping up. And it was like, I was a big diesel. I had a big threshold. I had my threshold was a lot high, kind of almost off the charts, I guess, for my age. But then my top end band, my kind of lactate, my ability to flush lactate wasn't that good. And it wasn't actually that much higher than threshold. So yeah, 17, 18-year-old, it was kind of showing that I'd be really good at halves, but obviously kind of the script that plays out is that, you go and do your time in ITU and then time in the trenches, and then, you get good and you do your skill set in ITU, and then you kind of go to a long course after that once you've built up the strength and capacity to race that. But I was kind of needing something else a bit earlier than that. So I was 22 when I did my first half, just 12 months ago. And that probably came a bit earlier than what most people would, but, I just needed something there. And then the kind of inkling that we had that my aerobic engine would suit and lend itself to long course was kind of, came out in the kind of the result that I had. And so, I guess that was just kind of something that we always had an inkling, but I don't know where I got it from. I guess probably, if I had a guess, it's probably chasing my brothers around, running and motocross and doing whatever from such a young age that I just kind of had this, endurance muscle set from birth, really.
And competitive mindset. So there's no specific family member you can attribute your genes to?
Dad would say that it's him and Mum would say that it's Mum. So I'll let them fight over that one.
It's got to be 50-50, right?
Exactly.
You mentioned, Kyle, that you went through a rough patch with your career, and it might have been across that Corona period, but was that just results weren't coming proportionate to the effort that you were putting in, or was it just a little bit of disillusionment with, as you say, the script is pretty typical, which is juniors go straight through to ITU and then the years to come go over to long course? But were you feeling a little bit disillusioned, or was it frustrated? What were you going through?
Yeah, so I guess, so 2016, I was kind of in the squad and the guys were basically building up to Rio. And, I got thrown as an 18-year-old and these guys were super fast, super lean, and I was trying every way to try and keep up with them. And obviously my mindset is that I want to keep up and I want to be the best. So, I was kind of racing them and trying to just get results overnight, basically. And I just got really sick, picked up a whole bunch of injury, just flogging myself. And, I'd take 2 weeks off. And then, I'd take 2 weeks off and then I'd come back thinking I need to work doubly hard because I'd just taken 2 weeks off, and then, flog myself again and then do that repeatedly. And that happened for about 12 months. And then, that's when I kind of found Xterra. I just did the race, and it was something that, and I kind of lost enjoyment for it as well. Obviously, when you're sick on the sidelines and just like pushing shit uphill basically for 12 months, it was kind of like, I'm not sure I enjoy this anymore. And Xterra kind of threw me a lifeline of, this is why I do the sport. This is why I enjoy it. The atmosphere at the Xterra races was super cool. Everyone was super friendly, and that kind of sparked that enjoyment. And then I went back to ITU, and I was kind of sharpening my tools really in ITU. I was getting some pretty good results, and I was getting to a place where I thought that I was doing quite well and my running was coming a long way. And yeah, I kind of, that was 2018. And then 2019 had another kind of year of, just getting sick. And that's kind of what happens when you're trying to like live out of a suitcase and hitchhike around Europe to try and get to races and whatnot, with kind of like the limited student budget that I had and whatnot. And so I was kind of just at a place where it was kind of like, I'm not enjoying it, I'm not getting the results, and I'm working so hard and sacrificing so much and not really getting any support and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of where I found that I needed, like Xterra, I needed something else just to focus my energy into, and long course ended up being that.
Yeah, I think that is a sentiment that many juniors trying to transition over to the senior ranks do feel. So I think it's nice to see alternate career paths to those that are disillusioned, where it's okay to jump over, try long course. Obviously, there's been there's been several case studies of successful athletes who have bypassed the standard distance, Olympic distance, and gone straight to long course and doing well. So I think your story is certainly one that has captured many people's attention, Kyle. And here we are with this recording. We're just 10 days out from your Ironman debut, Ironman New Zealand, with a pretty talent-stacked field there. Obviously, Cam Brown, former guest of the show, who is 12 times Ironman New Zealand winner and seemingly in great shape. Braden Currie, who we've already mentioned. Mike Phillips. There's a pretty crack-hot start line. So how do you prepare for your first Ironman debut, physically and mentally, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I can't... Those guys are such classy athletes. I mean, Braden, fifth in Kona, and Mike, previous record holder and kind of fastest ever debut. They're such talented athletes, and I just have to owe homage to them and kind of show the respect that they deserve. In the same respect, they don't really change my race plan. We've worked out with my coach what I can kind of swim and the powers that I can comfortably hold for 4 hours and a half or whatever, 180K, whatever the bike's going to take me. The way that my racing kind of lends itself at the moment, it's not going to be dictated by anybody else. It's just going to be kind of myself and how I kind of hold up, and it's just going to be a race of what I can do. So yeah, I mean, I use those guys as motivation. When I'm being hunted down by Braden, that surely makes me push a little bit harder. But yeah, honestly, I kind of show them that the respect that they deserve, and I don't kind of discredit them or do whatever. But at the end of the day, I've got to race my own race. And if I kind of get trapped into racing their race, or, it's going to probably affect my race a bit too much.
So just very much staying in your own lane and controlling the controllables. It's very cliched, but useful.
I know where my strengths are, and I know where my strengths aren't, and I have to play to my strengths and minimize my weaknesses, really. And so that kind of lends itself to the way I have been racing. Just basically send it.
Yeah. And preparing fueling wise, how any strategies around how you'll best get to the start line fueled and ready to go?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest learning curve that I've had coming into kind of ITU to long course, is just how much food I've got to eat. Even still now, I'm at my absolute limit, and I'm in halves. I'm not taking in nearly enough as what I should. And it's just, yeah, I mean, and plus carrying all that fuel. But yeah, for Ironman, we're kind of trying to hope for about 100 grams of carbs an hour. So if you kind of work that out, it's quite a bit, but something that I can actually palate, which is good. And the zones that I'm kind of trying to ride in and my energy zones should lend itself to that. And I'm hoping that nutritionally there won't be these big blowouts like I have had done in the half. In Tauranga, I kind of had a big nutritional blowout just because I'm at my absolute limit for 3.5, 4 hours. Whereas Ironman, hopefully it's a bit more of a steady state and a bit more in a zone that my body is used to being a bit more aerobic.
In Tauranga, I think, it seemed like you bonked in those last few Ks. Is that what happened? Just glycogen stores gone?
Yeah, that was a funny one because, I mean, it was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, really. It was kind of a accumulation of, I wasn't feeling great going into the event. The day before I had a really elevated heart rate. I wasn't feeling great, plus took on a bit of salt water in the swim, plus the aid stations on the bike were off the course, which is like, on the turnaround, and they were past the turnaround. So if you stopped to take a bottle, you'd lose so much time. I didn't bother. So basically I had a bottle one bottle on the bike, and that kind of all started mounting up to the point where I couldn't eat anymore. And I just felt like I was just going to vomit out. So I stopped eating. And then, that kind of blew out to the bonk that I had. That was kind of something that I definitely learned. And I definitely respected that, once stuff starts going out the window like that, once you start getting on the back foot, it goes wrong pretty quick. Because that went from, geez, I'm having a really, good day here, and I'm kind of running away with this one with a 5-minute lead, to literally within a kilometre going, I'm not going to finish this race. I'm going to have to start. I'm going to have to walk home or put my hand up, and mum and dad are going to have to get in the car and pick me up.
Oh gosh, and a terrible feeling that most people can relate to, but maybe on not that level. Kyle, obviously you've been practicing that high carbohydrate intake through training, 100 grams an hour.
Yeah, that's the thing that my coach kind of sat down and sort of said. I was kind of, before my first one, I couldn't afford to do that. It was quite funny. Like, gels are super expensive, and I didn't have a sponsor that could give me anything. So, unfortunately, I was kind of going out there, and I couldn't really afford to test it out. So I'd be using cordial and sugar and whatnot just to try and get the carbs in. But yeah, now I've got, I had a nutrition sponsor, Cliff, who's kind of given me some gels, so I could actually practice that now, which is cool.
That's great. And we featured Adam Hansen recently, 26 times Grand Tour cycling finisher on a featured performer episode. And Adam actually commented that he'd been trialing 120 grams of carbohydrate ingestion in an hour through his final Giro d'Italia. And he said he actually gained 4 kilos across a 3-week Grand Tour.
Wow, that's insane.
So he's upper limit.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, that's a lot of food to be taking on, isn't it? For kind of anyone, especially, kind of those cyclists that are on such a high metabolism as well.
Totally. And preparation-wise, physically, this is your first attempt at the Ironman distance. What's your taper looking like? What are Tim and yourself, Tim Brazier, your coach, implementing there?
My taper's kind of, I generally work pretty well off just a week out. I'd have a sort of a rest day, kind of 7 to 6 days out. And then if my body's feeling good, I'll just kind of, float in, basically just kind of, I literally take it right back actually in that week. I kind of do 10 hours of training in that week as opposed to kind of 30 hours that we're doing on a normal week in an Ironman build. So it's just kind of keeping the body ticking over, but still recovering, and just kind of keeping it, reminding of what it has to do, has to swim, it has to bike, and has to run, but not kind of exerting itself past where it needs to be, and for it to kind of level out as well. I find, if I kind of keep pushing kind of in that middle zone, that my body just kind of gets into a weird sort of flux where it doesn't kind of know what it's doing. So I just kind of take it right back, recover, and then it's been working so far. And just the same for Ironman, really. I mean, the way I'm kind of preparing for it, it's just going to be a half, but double the distance. So, I'm just going to do the same old story and just kind of roll out the carpet again.
Roll out the carpet. And, you'll keep some sessions in, but pull right back on the volume. And how do you typically feel in a taper, Kyle? Do you feel quite good normally when you're tapering, or one of these athletes that gets a bit lethargic and a bit stressed and grumpy at times?
Yeah, I mean, get pretty lethargic sometimes. Hey, probably it's very rarely that I don't. I guess, what do they call it? The taper blues or whatever, where your kind of body's cortisol levels are kind of all over the place and doesn't really know what it's doing. Yeah, so I kind of get that pretty bad, but I've done it enough now and I've had it enough that I know that if I'm feeling like that, it's a good thing. It's just my body trying to repair itself from all the kind of stress it's put itself under in the past months, and just trying to get ready to, freshen up and get ready for go time. And I always kind of, the day before the race, pull back around, and morning of the race, I feel pretty good. But I think for the people listening or the people out there, I think people don't like doing a taper or don't like that feeling, because, you go from feeling pretty good every day or kind of feeling like you go out there and you're running fine to suddenly you start resting up and your heart rate's really high, and, you feel really lethargic, and suddenly doing something at race pace feels horrible, and you kind of get a bit of anxiety and stuff around that. And I think it's just probably learning that your body is actually trying to sort itself out, and you've put it through a lot of stress, and your body's fight or flight hormones have been pretty high for all this time, and now it's kind of been a period of rest, and you just need to put your feet up and ride the wave of not feeling great.
You're listening to Kyle Smith, New Zealand triathlon star, on this A Featured Performer episode. Support for today's show comes from the great team at Precision Hydration. We recently featured Precision Hydration's co-founder, Andy Blow, on episode 234 of the show for a conversation on all things hydration science. It was one of 2020's most downloaded and popular episodes. The big takeaway from Andy Blow's sharings on episode 234 was that when it comes to hydration, there is definitely not one size fits all. And that's simply because everyone has a different sweat concentration. That is the amount of salt that they lose in their sweat. Now, I got a sweat test last year, and it turns out that I only lose about half the amount that the average athlete loses in their sweat. And with that knowledge, it's helped inform me around the best hydration strategy for my upcoming racing and training. So if you've ever struggled with hydration issues like cramp during long hot sessions, then you must check out precisionhydration.com. If you can't get to a physical sweat testing center like I did, then do not worry. Precision Hydration have provided an online free sweat test to get a personal hydration strategy to test in training. What's more, as a listener of the show, you can receive 15% off your first order of electrolytes simply by using the coupon code PERFORMANCE, one word, capitals, 15 when checking out. So once again, stop guessing about your hydration needs and truly find out. Jump over to precisionhydration.com. Support for today's show also comes from Pogo Physio's online telehealth consultations. If you are an endurance athlete struggling with bone, tendon or joint related concerns, then jump over to pogophysio.com.au/telehealth, and there you can schedule your online 45-minute consultation. You can join athletes worldwide getting back to their physical best, working with myself or any of the Pogo Physio team. Jump over to pogophysio.com.au/telehealth. And finally, support for today's show comes from the Physical Performance Show's Learnings membership, where from just $5 per month, you can support the production of the show. It's simple. Jump over to Patreon, Patreon. There you can find the Physical Performance Show and pledge your support. And in return, we'll grant you complimentary access to all upcoming future live stream events and also our back catalogue of highly popular live stream events, including Dr. Shona Halson on all things optimizing recovery and Dr. Stephen Seiler, forefather around all things polarized training. And a massive thank you to this week's new patron, that is Izzy Coombs. Izzy, thank you for your support of the Physical Performance Show. For now, let's jump back with this week's featured performer, Kyle Smith, New Zealand triathlon star. Kyle, can you give some wisdom around recovery from what you learned? You mentioned those seasons, Kyle, where you had, so if we explore some learnings from your career to date, those seasons where you had on and off bouts of illness, looking back and at those, that journey, those experiences, what have you sort of learned yourself and Tim, your coach, around how to optimize your recovery?
Yeah, I think for me, it went from basically doing the training that I could do at school to then being a full-time athlete. And then actually I was doing uni and I was working as well, but trying to train like a full-time athlete and trying to basically I was just overtraining and I was undereating just because I wanted, I had this mindset that all triathletes had to be 3% body fat and they had to train 50 hours a week. So I was kind of doing that and it obviously didn't work. My body was just constantly getting sick, run down, really tired. And I just kind of found this zone where that was actually when Tim started coaching me, was kind of after, he saw what I was going through. And then I had to he kind of came on board and helped me out. And he just said, it's consistency and it's time and it's eating food well and nothing happens overnight. And you've just got to kind of keep chipping away at it. And hopefully that, you can just keep plugging away and then, kind of come out on top at the end.
There's a lot of wisdom there from Tim. Consistency plus time plus eating food plus keep chipping away. I mean, we laugh about eating food, but it's a strong misconception, not just through triathlon, but any endurance endeavor. I think even still that you need to be super lean and you need to be doing huge hours. But where do you think that mindset comes from, Kyle? Is it just observing, the athletes that you aspire to be like, and the fact that typically the ones performing well are lean, and therefore we attribute that leanness must be one of the key characteristics for good performance?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, athletes are when athletes become good, it's because they try and be better than the next person, right? And when you see someone that's performing really well in their training, you think, oh, I'm just going to do more than them right now, and the best way for me to be better is to be leaner and to be faster than them. But you don't realize that what they've done is taken them 2 to 3 years or whatever it has taken them to get to that point. And for me, I was kind of, young and then in that time, and I thought I could achieve it overnight. And it's kind of like, I attribute it to sort of something like mining. You chip away at a mine to kind of, or you could throw a dynamite stick in there and blow the whole thing up. And I was kind of just throwing dynamite sticks in and blowing the whole thing up every time, and just trying to, and I wasn't getting the reaps of the reward, and kind of wondering why I wasn't. And it took until Tim came along and said, hey, you've obviously got the talent. You just need to, slow it down and actually get some consistency, peg it back a lot, and, just eat consistently. And at the time, before that, I was trying every single diet under the sun. I went keto, I went vegan, I went everything just to try and find a solution, but nothing really worked. And I found the thing that worked was just eating like a normal person and eating a variety of food, eating lollies if I wanted to, eating chocolate bars if I wanted to, and if my body was craving something, there's probably a reason for it. And actually letting myself be a bit less mentally strong. It's a kind of a funny thing, but your body does what it does for a reason, and just listening to it and not kind of being stubborn and putting up a fight.
Oh, gosh, that's such a great lesson for a young athlete. You're young still in years and definitely young in the career to come, that you stop being what sports psychologists or even psychiatrists would refer to as rigid in your approach, and you started to, as you say, listen to your body and respond accordingly. And on the fueling side of things, I find it in my work, Kyle, just endlessly fascinating, at times frustrating, around the fact that fueling is the thing that allows us to adapt. No one has a problem doing the training, doing the hours, but it's the behind the scenes that determines really how much we get from those outputs with training efforts and hours, in particular fueling. So well done. You are obviously striking the right balance at the moment, because your performances have been outstanding.
Yeah, and it's funny because if I kind of look at myself now, I'd say, I'm not the leanest I probably could be or whatever. And I'm probably not, eating what looks like should be a kind of a typical athlete diet. Like, I eat really well, but there's definitely the sweet things and the good food in there, I guess, the soul food. And then I'm going really well, kind of surprise. And so, I attribute it just to, and it's not hard. I mean, endurance sport's not hard. It is a hard thing to do, but it's pretty simple, really. There's the barefoot running tribes in South America who just run and they eat and they sleep, and they're the best kind of runners in the world. And so you don't need to overcomplicate things. It's endurance sports, moving your body from one side to another as fast as possible. And, I think the more simply you can make it, the better it is.
You're listening to Kyle Smith, rising New Zealand triathlon star, undefeated across the 70.3 Half Ironman distance and dual World Cross Triathlon champion on this featured performer episode. If you missed last week's episode, it was another featured performer episode featuring another triathlete, no surprises there, and that was Great Britain's Tokyo Olympic Games team member, Jess Learmonth. Now, Jess shared some fantastic insights from her career highs, lows, and learnings to date, and here's a little snippet of my conversation with Jess.
I learned a lot that fueling around training was really important for me, because back in the day I used to probably go a long time without fueling, just because the day goes so fast, moving from one place to another, traveling, and I wasn't probably eating around the sessions. So I've tried to make sure I'm prepared when I go out the door, that I've got enough snacking and things like that.
To enjoy the full episode featuring Jess Learmonth, jump over to wherever it is that you enjoy your podcasts from, and whilst there, peruse the archives dating right back back to surf lifesaving Ironman champion Ali Day on episode 1. For now, let's jump back with Kyle Smith on this week's Feature Performer episode. Kyle, are you ready for a performance round? Let's see if this one's as quick as your Ironman debut coming up. Here we go. Training session most disliked.
Anything to do with speed. I mean, yeah, like 50s in the pool or a track running session. It hurts me for days, eh?
Training session most loved.
Long ride or a long run.
And we're talking in the range of
2 hours, 32K runs and sort of 6 hour bikes.
Yeah, so long days. Favorite pre-race meal? What have you dialed in for your pre-race nutrition ahead of your recent successes?
Rice or pizza, just anything that looks good in the town that I'm in.
Bedtime, morning time. You quite disciplined around that or a bit more lax?
Yeah, it depends what time Netflix finishes. If I'm tired, I go to bed. So sometimes it's 8:30, sometimes it's 10, and I generally wake up about 6:30 every morning, kind of natural body clock.
And what's capturing your attention on Netflix?
I just watched Behind Her Eyes, which was kind of a bit spooky. Yeah, that definitely, yeah.
Hence the references to being hunted on race courses. Who's the athlete that Kyle Smith most admires and why?
I think Harvey. I've had the kind of pleasure to train with Javier a few times, and someone that I just aspire to be like, not in terms of performance, but in terms of just how nice a person Javier Gomez is and how down to earth he is and just how much time he has for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, real gentleman of the sport. Toughest competitor you've ever raced against? I have a feeling I might know the answer to this one. Who's that and why, the toughest competitor?
I think anyone who beats me. But, yeah, I mean, Braden never gives in. He's not going to go down without a fight, and if you wobble, he'll be there. Yeah.
If you wobble, he'll be there. Is there a mantra, Kyle, that you use when you're, as you say, full send going from the front and just hanging on for dear life?
Yeah, don't blow up.
Don't blow up. Keep it simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Best recovery tip?
Put your feet up and eat some good food.
Keep it simple. I'm liking this theme. Worst injury to date? Kyle, what's the worst injury you've had to overcome?
I had a stress fracture, lateral shin stress fracture. That was kind of a bit of an annoying one because I couldn't figure it out for ages. And typical me, I kept writing on it, just trying to keep it going. And then, kind of enough was enough. And that enough was enough was at World Champs 2018.
Gosh, and that was the fibula, was it? The outside part of your shin there?
Yeah, it was real weird. It was kind of like no one really knew what it was from or how it caused it, but it went.
Yeah, it's a less a common sight than the tibia or the shin bone, that's for sure. One word to describe your racing style, Kyle. If you could, one word, what would it be?
Gutsy.
Gutsy. How would you, Kyle Smith, describe being in the zone?
I guess just clocked out. Like, I can just kind of relax and I'm not too focused on what's going on and I'm just kind of, in my own little world.
Relaxed and zoned out. That wasn't your words. Clocked out. Is that what you said? Clocked out?
Yeah, just kind of like, I'm not focusing too much on what's going on and what's, analysing everything. I just kind of am in a zone where, I'm just going to go out and swim and I'm going to bike and I'm going to run and it's all going to be pretty relaxed, really.
Yeah, powerful. And final question in the performance round, Kyle. The hardest session you've ever done? We know that epic training sessions alone don't make champions, but what's the hardest session Kyle Smith can recall from your career to date?
There's a session, I almost died in this session. So Tim gave me, before Rotorua, 2x45 at 70.3 power with 4x3K run off the bike at tempo. And it just almost killed me, hey. Like riding at 350 watts for an hour and a half in a 3-hour ride and then trying to run, 320s off the bike. And that was kind of like one of my first sessions kind of coming back. Yeah, and I didn't make the last one. I had to walk home.
But you survived and went on to achieve some successive wins. So well done. You're out of the performance round, survived that one as well, Kyle. Kyle, every guest of the show, feature performer and otherwise, gets asked this question. That is, if you could boil everything that you've learnt to date, and obviously, clearly still learning, into one piece of advice, to help listeners of the show perform at their physical best, what would Kyle Smith's single piece of advice be?
I guess there's a pretty common theme. Hey, just keep it simple and enjoy what you're doing, and then do that over a long period of time and you'll get good.
Keep it simple and enjoy it, and keep doing it over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Simple formula, but I don't think anyone could argue with that. Kyle, every guest of the show also gets asked to issue a physical challenge for the listeners. So what is Kyle Smith's physical challenge going to be?
My physical challenge is going to be a dress rehearsal. So if you've got a race coming up or something coming up, the week before or 2 weeks before, just try out your equipment, try out your nutrition strategies or whatever it's going to be over, a pretty similar time period. So if you've got a half coming up, go for a 3-hour bike ride and practice your nutrition and where that's going to be stored, because you don't want to get to race day and all be a surprise to you and you're trying to figure it out the night before the race. So if you've tried it before in training, then racing will just become automatic.
Yeah, do a dress rehearsal. That's, once again, no one could argue with that, and actually mirrors the advice given by Adam Hansen, which is to try nothing new in a race.
Absolutely.
Seems like common sense. But I think we've all fallen guilty of not listening to that one. Kyle, obviously just 10 days away from Ironman New Zealand, your debut. So certainly in the next 10 days, we wish you all the very best. And once this show goes live, I think we'll be all right on the doorstep of the event. So we'll be following on, I should say, watching the event, and wishing you a great success for your debut.
Oh, thank you so much. Hopefully there's not a kind of a catastrophic explosion that you can hear from all the way where you are.
We'll be watching on with great interest. But beyond Ironman New Zealand, I presume, the goals, Hawaii and making your mark known across the Ironman distance. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think everything that I've been doing, we'll see what happens. And it's just so hard to make a plan now. Hey, that's probably a line that's been thrown around, but yeah. It's kind of hard to make a plan, so just kind of taking it day by day, and we'll see what happens after Ironman. And yeah, but definitely I want to go over there and kind of throw a cat amongst the pigeons, as you could say.
And remember, an Ironman is just two halves combined together. That's what you've taught me. I've got my first one coming up in June, so I'm going to use that. We'll see if it works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can do one, you can do it too, right?
Sounds easy. Kyle Smith, thank you for your contribution to the Physical Performance Show. And if you want to follow your journey, where can we find you?
My Instagram's Kyle Smith NZL, and I guess on Facebook's Kyle Smith Triathlete. So you just go on there. When I'm racing as well, my girlfriend's pretty kind to do some updates on my social medias as well, so you can kind of follow along and see where I'm at while doing that as well.
And if anyone in New Zealand wants to get you out to do some tradie work, your Instagram handle is double world champion, undefeated half Ironman, part-time tradie. Can they hit you up on Instagram to come out and do a few odd jobs?
Yeah, mate, for sure. I mean, I'm not going to guarantee any quality, but I can certainly put up a wall.
And there might be a time lag now with the Ironman coming up. But no, great stuff, Kyle. You're an incredible talent and one to watch for the future. And we certainly wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you so much, Brad. Again, it's been an honour to be on the show.
So there you have it, another episode of the Physical Performance Show, and I trust and I know you enjoyed Kyle Smith's share-ins. If you did, jump over and let Kyle know on Instagram. You'll find him at Kyle Smith NZL. Can also tag in the show at Physical Performance Show over on Instagram for a podsy. That's a screenshot of the episode that you're enjoying at any given time. Massive thanks to those leaving ratings and reviews over on iTunes. They are a terrific source of feedback and greatly appreciated. As always, a huge thanks to the great team who put this show together. That is Daryl Misson, our audio engineer, Susan Wilkin on all things show administration, and Matthew Olding on all things show graphic design. Once again, another huge thank you to this week's show sponsor, Precision Hydration. Don't forget to use your coupon code PERFORMANCE, 15 when checking out at precisionhydration.com to receive 15% off your first order of electrolytes. And more so, be sure to take advantage of Precision Hydration's free online sweat test. You must find out the concentration of your sweat, and the online sweat test is remarkably accurate in helping guide you around your best hydration strategy off knowledge around your sweat concentration. Once more, jump over to precisionhydration.com. As we often say, podcasts, whilst free to download, are not free to produce. So thank you once again to our Patreon supporters for jumping over and pledging your support and becoming a Physical Performance Show Learnings member. It's simple. If you'd like to support the production of the show, you can jump over to Patreon, search for the Physical Performance Show, pledge your support from just $5 per month, and in return, we'll grant you access to our back catalogue and all upcoming live stream events, normally ticketed at $49 per person, featuring an expert around all things physical performance. We have some great live stream events planned for 2021 with some imminent releases around our upcoming live streams. Now, we have plenty in store for the Physical Performance Show, including several episodes around all things running-related injuries, how to navigate them, try and prevent them, and of course, how to treat them. I'll jump behind the mic for several episodes and share insights that I've gleaned from 15 years working in the field as a sports physiotherapist, primarily with runners and triathletes. So stay tuned for the upcoming expert editions on all things running-related injuries. Until then, keep pursuing your physical best performance. I'm Brad Beer, and this has been the Physical Performance Show.